Yep. You start off when you're ready, Debbie. Let's roll.
Okay,
one take, Debbie and Gary.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. And Gary, my buddy, you know, we're the 1-2 punch for Michigan, right? And it's
absolutely
great to be here at the Democratic Convention. Can't wait till we all can be back together in person. But I know that you share my belief as we start this conversation that we just want to say thank you to everybody, to Labora, to you know, the 33,000 volunteers. Think about that, 33,000 volunteers for the One Campaign for Michigan. And I'm so proud we were the first coordinated campaign in place, rocking and rolling on the ground, in the air in 2020. So thank you to everybody. And just two more numbers, 50 million calls, tests, doors during the cycle. And we had over 3.2 million people that voted absentee because of the great Voters Not Politicians effort that allowed us to do that, and everything else that happened to make that happen. And so what did we do? We elected a great new president, a great new vice president, and a great senator got reelected. So, hey, Senator Peters.
Well, thank you, Debbie. And you're right, we are the 1-2 punch. It's great to have a great partner in Senator Stabenow, who's our senior senator and has just an incredible leadership. It's great to serve with you, Debbie. And it would not have happened without all of the efforts of the Michigan Democratic Party, Lavora, the whole team, as you mentioned, but the One Campaign, something that was started right out of the box, clearly made a difference. And when you look at how the election panned out and how close it was, there is no question in my mind that it was all of the volunteers, it was all of the folks that put in countless hours in the One Campaign that allowed me to get reelected. It was an honor. So thank you to everybody who helped out so that we could win. You know, Debbie and I talked about this throughout the campaign, that there's no way we could take the majority in the United States Senate if we don't hold Michigan. This was really ground zero. We saw it. Millions and millions of dollars were thrown against me. I think if you look at my opponent and outside, it was like $100 million against me in this race. So ultimately, it was people power that was allowed us to win. And when we held this seat in Michigan, that allowed us to win 2 seats in Georgia and take the majority. Now, Debbie is chair of the Agriculture Committee. I am chair of Homeland Security and Government Affairs, and that happened because of each and every one of you tuning in here today. Thank you for your efforts, and we're going to continue this streak going forward. But I'm really excited about a Biden presidency. Debbie, I know you are as well. What are you looking forward to?
You know, Gary, I think about the fact that just, what was that? You know, just, I think, less than 2 weeks into the Biden presidency, you and I were in the Oval Office with President Biden and Vice President Harris, and we were talking about what we need to do to help families survive this COVID crisis, to keep people safe and get vaccines in people's arms and get children back to school safely. And being able, I know you were smiling on your mask, I was smiling under my mask as we were listening to people that knew exactly what was going on, intelligent, talented, passionate, committed, working with us as a team. I mean, that's what this election did. It wasn't just about putting a new president and vice president in, it was about what we can do together. And so, you know, none of us knew that COVID was going to happen. And God bless our governor and lieutenant governor and everybody in the state, frontline workers, everybody who have been courageous and leaned in to keep us safe. But the truth is that this new president and vice president were left a huge mess in terms of loss of life in the economy and so on. And now we're moving forward. We are laser focused on the American Rescue Plan. And I can tell you in the pieces that I'm working on, there's a significant additional help for food assistance. You know, at the end of the year, I negotiated with Republicans. We got an increase in the supplemental nutrition program and help for food banks. And then before Trump leaves office, they ratcheted it all back. So when President Biden came in, I called and said, please move forward, give us flexibility. And he did it immediately. That's a Democratic president, immediately to help people. So more food help is what we're going to do. And we're also going to give more help to rural hospitals And I'm very excited that we're going to be dealing with some of the food supply chain problems that broke down because of large vendors, not being open and so on. We're going to make it safe for folks in meat packing plants and farm workers by giving them PPE. And with our great new senator from Georgia, Senator Warnock, leading the way, with Senator Cory Booker, myself, Senator Lujan, we are going to put in place funding to forgive the U.S. Department of Agriculture loans for Black farmers, farmers of color. That has been a fundamental issue, systemic racial issue since the beginning, frankly, of the elimination of slavery. And so we're moving. And in everything we're doing, including agriculture and nutrition, we are dealing with fundamental racial disparities and how we can make things better and create more opportunity for everybody. So I'm excited, so much more that we're doing as well to lift people up and help people. And Gary, I know you're deeply involved in that as well.
Well, we are, again, the 1-2 punch for us, Debbie, to do that. And there's so much in this rescue package that will help folks, from additional resources, money in people's pockets, folks who are struggling to put food on the table, keep a roof over their head, extending unemployment insurance, which is critical for those who have lost jobs for no fault of their own, helping our small businesses. But the one area that I'm particularly focused on is the work through Homeland Security, which we oversee FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management folks. You look at how this whole crisis was mismanaged by the Trump administration. It's really an outrage that we have a national crisis, and yet we did not have a coordinated national response, which is outrageous. You needed to have FEMA take charge. Instead, we had every state trying to do their own thing. And certainly Governor Whitmer and the whole team has done a great job here in Michigan, but you really need a coordinated national effort to deal with it. And as Debbie mentioned, when we were sitting in the White House together with the president and vice president, it was so wonderful to hear them talk about a coordinated national response and treat a national emergency with the seriousness that it deserves. And that's why there's substantial resources going into FEMA to help states to create a national program for vaccine distribution. We know that the only way we really get through this is to deal with the health aspects of it. And that means getting vaccines in as many arms as we can, as quickly as possible. And that requires a coordinated national effort to do that, which is what we're focused on right now. And when Debbie talks about the disparities, those existed through the emergencies as well. And unfortunately, we see these disparities and know that communities of color in particular get hit hard, in fact, disproportionately. And that tends to be in any natural disaster, whether it's a hurricane or floods. We've certainly seen it in this COVID crisis. That's got to change. We're putting the policies in place that will change that in the years ahead. That's what we do as Democrats. We understand where there's a problem and we're focused on fixing that. And certainly we're going to continue to do that. But of course, we've got to make sure that we can continue to see the Biden agenda go forward for the next 4 years. I know you're committed to that, Debbie.
No question about it. And just to underscore, Gary, what you said, I think is so important. When we look at issues around racial disparities, it's not one thing in one area, right? It's how we look at everything. And that's why we as Democrats look at things differently, whether it's healthcare, education, housing, agriculture, other parts of small business and so on. It's how we look at things. But when we go forward, after we have this survival package passed, then we go to the bigger jobs agenda, which is so critical, clean energy jobs and doing what we need to do to make things in America again in a robust way. I was thrilled after 2 years ago putting together this Make It in America report about how there were all these loopholes in Buy American laws, and federal government was not really focused on doing what federal government should do in purchasing. And then it just sat there under the Trump administration with all their talk. It just sat there. The Biden administration called and said, we want to look at your report and use it as a basis for what they are doing on Buy American. And we're working together to close those loopholes, bring jobs back, good paying middle-class jobs. And anytime we say make things in America or grow things in America, Michigan is winning, right, Gary?
Absolutely. There's no question. And that will be our focus for the next 4 years with the Biden administration. Hopefully we'll have another administration. But let me just close here, Debbie, in that the success that we had in 2020, we have to replicate that now in this next election in 2022. I will be chairing the Senate Democratic Senate Campaign Committee to make sure that we have a majority in the United States Senate. We have to continue to have that, certainly in order for President Biden to get not only his key folks in his administration, but also judicial appointments. It's absolutely critical that we maintain this majority in the Senate. But we have to win in Michigan. We have to reelect Governor Whitmer and Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist. We've got to make sure Dana Nessel and Jocelyn Benson get returned. We're going to have an opportunity to take majorities in the legislature with the redistricting. But in order to do that, we've got to put the kind of effort that we put into 2020. We had great successes, and thank you again for the amazing successes in 2020. But it's going to take that kind of coordinated effort. We've got to get out, knock on doors when we can, make the calls, do all of the work that we saw in the one campaign, because once again, it's going to be absentee ballots that are going to be critical. The fact is, Debbie mentioned 3.2 million absentees. That made the difference between winning and losing statewide. It's going to happen again. I'm certainly committed to do that. I'm going to thank everyone who's watching here in advance. Thank you for all of your efforts. Winning was great. And it's going to be great when we are able to win again in the 2022 election. Debbie, we're all in, right?
Going, right? We got to keep everything going. They're going to come at us with voter suppression, not only in Michigan, but across the country, which deals with our voting rights laws. But we've got to keep the one campaign for Michigan going because we know it worked. We led in Michigan in 2020. We're going to do it again in 2022. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody.